Hey everybody, welcome to our weekly Data Talk, a show where we talk with data science leaders from around the world. Today, we're talking to Amit Golan. He's the CEO and co-founder of Minute. Amit, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you very much to you. Nice to meet you.
So I originally heard about Minute. I was reading through my Twitter feed and ran across your company that uses artificial intelligence to edit videos in real time. And since I work in social media, I was fascinated by this because we work with a lot of video content. We're always sharing out video content. We do live events all the time. And editing, as you know, is a very, very time-consuming process. It requires a lot of people, technology, and a lot of time to edit, add music, add graphics, those types of things. And so any sort of technology to help improve and speed up that process to me would be amazing. And when I ran across your company, I was just blown away by the different use cases that I saw on your website. And then even just chatting before today's event, seeing the things that you guys are able to do, it's just amazing. So before we get into Minute, I would love to learn a little bit more about you. Can you share with us a little bit about your background and what led you to start Minute? And by the way, for those that are interested in learning more about it, the URL is just Minute, minute.ly.
So quick about myself. So as you mentioned, my name is Amit. I'm based in Tel Aviv, New York, most of the time between those two countries. Started, like an average Israeli guy crossing through the army. And then I got injured. And then I started to play with all kinds of tech stuff while I was recovering. The tech side of those things were very interesting to me. So once I discharged from the army, I started to think what I'll do. It took me about 2 years to decide what I'll do because I was traveling the world for a long time.
How cool.
That's fun. That's fun. South America and India and Nepal. That was good.
That's awesome.
And then I got back to Israel, and I started to deal with all kinds of technical products or during my studies, and then once in the end of the third year, I got accepted to something named Zell Program. The Zell Program helps students to learn about how to build companies, tech companies, and how to be a good entrepreneur. I think you can't learn how to be a good one, but you can get tools, learn from different people, hear different experiences, and then improve yourselves.
So did you have kind of an idea in your mind at this point before you went into this program? Or were you like, I want to start a company at some point. This program could really help me get started faster?
No, I just flowed. Like it was an interesting program that everybody talked about. So
Yeah,
I said, it's a nice challenge.
And how did you know that was like a good program to go into? Because I feel like there's lots of different types of online classes, learn how to be an entrepreneur, build a startup. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of those places out there for people to take. So how did you find like this one and feel like this is the right one for me?
The best thing that as far as I could measure it, is the amount of people that applied to the program and how many got accepted.
Oh, okay.
So that said, quite an interesting fact that a lot of people want to go to that program, and then just tiny amount of people will actually do it. So actually, to me, it was a life changer. It sounds, cliche, but it was something that made a difference of how I see my potential career. And then I started the program. What? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. This, you said it had a huge impact. What was it about this program that made such a big impact on you?
I think eventually I thought to myself, I'll go to a big company. I'll work for a big company, and that would be, and I'll do my best.
Yeah.
That program told me the basics of how to start a company. What would be the best tools to use? How to kick off, basically. How to start from between us and all the Facebook viewers, how to start something not very interesting or successful, and then how to evaluate things, how to choose people to your team, how to grow the company, how to raise funds to your company, how to deal with investors, how to build like so there are all kinds of legal stuff, financial thinking. So there are all kinds of things that help me to get more and more information of how to start. And then, you know, it's a roller coaster. You're sitting on a train and then everything runs fast or slows down. And sometimes you're going high and sometimes going down. So we had everything.
That's cool. Tell me about the people that you met in the program.
It's actually a very, very interesting program. It's based most of the time you're in Israel, but we had some time that they took us to the US to meet all kinds of CEO, product people from Facebook.
That's awesome.
PayPal, eBay, Estee Lauder. They wanted to expose us to all kinds of different industries. So it was tech and non-tech companies, legal, non-legal, big companies, small companies, different locations across the US. So we got like an overview about everything that you can do.
That's great.
Yeah, it actually.
That's amazing.
Me like, yeah, it's like expose you to a lot of interesting stuff. And also at the same time brought you to a different alumni group that now everybody knows everyone. And I think it's like the 18th or 19th, correct me if I'm mistaken, badge. So every year there's a new 20 people that join the program. And it's extremely interesting. It opened my eyes.
Wow.
Literally.
Wow. That is so cool. So you go through this program, and as you're meeting all these different leaders at all these companies, the Facebooks, the eBays, the PayPals, are you beginning to develop ideas for a business for yourself at this point?
So during the program, you do two things. One, you're studying like university, and the second thing is the practical side. So we're forming groups of between 2 to 4 people and starting to play with all kinds of, like we call it, the process is ideation. You're trying to think of needs of different things that the team likes to deal with. Let's say automotive. I found automotive very interesting, or I found sports very interesting. Then you'll start to do all kinds of research about a certain topic on that vertical. And then you will try to find a problem. And then before even getting to the solution or the company that you might form in the future, they force you to find a real problem. A real problem eventually is something that people would be happy to pay for in order to have it. So that was the basic or the original step that we've done. While we were talking to those people in the US, we learned a lot of things about how they did it, the downside of everything, the upside, the good side and the bad side. So it was very interesting. An idea for a company is like a FEMO, or like something that you all the time you build a bit more and it gets a little bit harder. So and then you have a product market fit, and then you know what's the business model behind it, and then you scale, and then that's different phases in the company.
So when you finish your program, because obviously, you finished your military career. You now have all these options. You travel the world. You're trying to figure out what you're going to do next. The path for a lot of individuals like myself is to find a job in a corporate setting.
Right.
And your route was much, much different. You're like, no, I think I want to start something from scratch, from the ground up.
Right.
That takes a lot of grit, a lot of curiosity. It's a lot of hard work because the failure rate is huge. So you have to really be passionate about it. So you find this amazing program that would help provide you with a lot of resources to help you get started faster. And also, like you said, open your eyes to what is possible and what you could do. So you finished the program, and now you've already worked on some business projects with some other colleagues. And at what point do you think of the idea to start Minute?
So we had the group of the people that we met there. We had a nice idea. We tested it a little bit. It actually went very well, but we changed it. The group, everybody went to different companies. I started to work for like a project in a different company, and then in the back of my head, I was like, all the time was thinking what I can do and what things I can do for to do an interesting stuff like I did when I was graduating the army. And then about a year or a year and a half after, we thought there was a group of like a delegation of people that came to Israel. And we met all together, and we did like a pre-game before we went to a party, and then everybody looked at YouTube and said, okay, let's see this, let's see that. And then after a couple of like 3, 4, 5 videos, we're like staring at the screen. It was silent in the room, nobody talked.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, somebody give me a new video. So it was like a weird action. And I was like staring from the side and saying, wait, we all have different preferences. If the computer or the machine could know what our preferences and show us something without actually us doing anything, that would be very interesting. Mm. It came from a very weird situation that nobody talked, and we were expecting someone to put something funny, but nothing happened. And then we started like playing with ideas of how we can do better with videos. We saw that everybody talked about video and that will be a very interesting space in 2020 and stuff like this. So we started to play with an idea of creating some kind of Fleaboard for videos. You just open your app. We know your preferences. We will collect all the content from across the web, all the videos, not only from YouTube, and we'll screen it to you. After a couple of months, we saw that we had an app, a very basic one, not very fancy, but some loyal users were there. Some, very few. But there was one thing that was repetitive to all of them. The time they actually spent watching those videos went between 10 to 35% of the original form of the video. Let's say I will show you a 10-minute long video or 5-minute long video. Yeah. That is the most interesting piece on the web today.
Yeah.
With a lot of users that actually saw it and it fits your interest, you will see only 10%
really
of the content. Yes. Especially when we're talking about mobile consumption. So like if it's a desktop, there will be a higher rate, but as you go mobile, like tablet and then mobile, then it decreases to a very low numbers. So then we thought, if we can do something to automate the process of editing and showing you just the highlight of that video, that would be something interesting. But not only the highlight, if it will analyze the content from the video itself, then we might be able to generate a trailer for movie, but for videos. So we will bring all the most interesting content on site, on your app, and then we will automatically extract the teasers or previews, show you like a bunch of previews, and then you can select which one of them you want to see. And once you click on it, then you can see the full version of that video. So that was the original idea of how we started Minute. And then we got some responses from, or approaches from, different publishers who asked us if we can actually use our technology on their O&O, owned and operated sites. Then we said, no, it's not our time yet. We're, focusing on the mobile app, yada, yada. And then we saw when you're fundraising and you know how much money you have, but as the time flows, when the money goes away, then we're starting to think, well, like, how do I make money in order to retain the company for life? And then we said maybe the idea of creating the same tech, different product for our clients might be effective for them as well. Then we did a very nice presentation, but that's it. Nothing behind the presentation. We showed it to all kinds of people from the industry, and then they say, yeah, of course, we want to use it. It will help us. If you will help me to drive more video views, more eyeballs on my content that I've already created, that would be amazing.
Right.
And that's Minute today. So that was 3 years ago. Today we're doing all kinds of products. We have, and the main thing that we're trying to target is how we can create a positive ROI, return of investment, from your content. Usually when we're talking about premium content, the content is very expensive to produce. The time that you're investing, the efforts of other people that helps, like the CNNs of the world, the ESPNs, the MLBs, the NFLs. The time to create those videos and how much it costs is very expensive.
Yes.
If we can make higher revenue from the same content and help them to do more, increase the engagement, hence increasing the revenue, that will be something sufficient for them. That's what we do.
And for those listening to the podcast, when you get a chance, or if you're on your mobile device right now, go to Google, type in MLB to see Major League Baseball results on Google. You'll notice in the sidebar these animated GIFs of what's happening in baseball right now. And if you're on the desktop, you'll see it on the right-hand side, right on the Google platform. I mean, Google considers it so important that it's actually showing highlight videos that Minute is producing. And this is all automated. This is all using AI, taking these video highlight clips from an actual Major League Baseball game, and it's going right into the search results. I mean, to have Google highlighting this in the sidebar is a huge.
So they actually created a tool for publishers. It named Post on Google. Google want to get interesting content surfaced to their users. So they allowing users from across the world manually created to generate those posts and post it on Google. So you have posts on Facebook, Instagram, and posts on Google. The posts on Google exposed to all the people who actually search for those terms. And the way to generate those posts are manually today. With Minute, it's a completely automated process and statistically significant approved. So we know that those previews will create a higher engagement to their site.
That's brilliant. So I'm curious about the, like, for example, the highlight reels. You watch a basketball game, for example, or a baseball game, and Minute can take that whole game, break it up into a small video. Does the social media manager or the person who's trying to get the content out choose like the time length? Like, I want this, 3-hour game turned into a 30-second video or a 15-second video. How does that work?
So we have two options. Generally speaking, like from a macro level, we can use the real-time source or the VOD videos that are based on site and just a video article.
Yeah.
So those are two different sources that we can use. On the video the VOD, we can generate video previews that last between 6 seconds up to 12, 13 seconds. That's the range. Who defines the range? The peak moment, or the engagement
Gotcha.
graph, as we call it. So it's dynamic. We're not creating it manually. So the mission again is, once they've created the video, we will help them to outperform each and every location on their site by actually showing the users an interesting preview to that video. So that's like a couple of the things that we do.
I love that.
And then they have another option. You can see it, for example, on different local stations in the US, and you can go to, for example, one of our NASCAR.com. You will see on the top of their page, you will see like a nice carousel that surface the most interesting video content on site concurrent with the best previews that we have generated. So the mission today, we know that the attention span is quite short. We want to show the users what they should see now. In 1 minute, the gist of all the website in one place. If you're interested, you can click on it and then you'll be redirected to the full version. But we understand, the urgency today to do things fast, to find interesting stuff. We will surface it into one video box, and then they can the users can click and see the full version behind it. If it's not very interesting, they can just swipe to the next one.
And tell me about the technology on how you're able to take a piece of video and easily have it changed out for different formats, like Instagram stories, portrait mode versus vertical video.
Okay. So the evolution of video, and we all know, and now we can see the screen here, is usually like the resolution is 16:9. All the cameras, good cameras, are capturing like this, and all the video content that we're producing is like this. But the consumption have changed over the couple of last years into a vertical, more optimized way for mobile, which is a vertical consumption. So what's the difficulty here? One is users on mobile are not consuming a lot of content on their mobile, so it should be very fast. And the second thing is, how do you extract from a horizontal video the right portion of the vertical that we are looking for?
That's right.
So there are two different problems. So we solve the first one with our first algorithms, which actually detects the peak moments or the best previews and the teasers. That's one. And the second thing that we do is we have a waterfall of objects that we're looking within each and every video. Deep learning will analyze what objects are more interesting at some point and what are less. And then they can choose at the same time where we should take the frame on the 16:9. And then it moves all the time and focuses on the object itself. there's a lot of techniques.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I love how you have solved those two really big challenges, and I'm thinking about the amount of time saved for anybody who's doing any sort of video editing, anybody who's doing social media, to be able to quickly use technology, use an AI to go ahead and edit that video for me in whatever formats I need in the moment. Like, that is brilliant. And you talked about this first challenge. You developed this peak moment AI that would actually find those pieces of content in the video that would resonate most with people, that would interest people most. Can you talk a little bit about that development of that AI?
Yep. Those kinds of things are the bread and butter of the company. That's what everybody here are doing. So basically, it combines two different brains that runs at the same time. One is analyzing the actual content. So it's the image processing, the frames within the video, scene recognition, so we can gather some things together, the audio analysis, text analysis, meta tags, titles, so everything get into one box that we named content analysis. Then we learn and we auto tag everything. That's one thing. The second thing is we named it crowdsource. So we analyze two different sources. One is open sources across the web, where we look for this specific information across the web that we can actually learn about this specific video. So some people on different social will write about this specific video something. We will understand that this video is related to that one. We match between them, and then we know that this one is actually related to this one. And then we'll take all the information from there and apply it to the algo. The second thing is how people behave when they watch videos. Get into the psychology behind the consumption. Combining all those together will help us to determine what is the main interesting part of that video.
Wow. Wow, that's brilliant. So is part of the AI, especially with the real-time content, you said that it's also checking out like what people are possibly saying about that. Like, let's just say, for example, there's a Major League Baseball game happening and something remarkable happens and people are talking about it now. They're tweeting about it.
Yep.
This AI is smart enough to not only it's seeing all this content of people hitting balls and people catching balls, throwing balls. It's not only scanning to find highlights within that video content of what it thinks is actually going to be valuable to people, but it's also then surveying the web to go, oh, people are kind of talking about this thing that happened in the game. Let's find it and let's crop that out.
Bingo.
That is brilliant. And that comes down to what you're saying, this real-time AI that is actually able to find those highlighted pieces of content and be able to get them out on the web as quickly as possible in as many formats as possible.
And the difficulty here is how do you get rid of the white noise, and how do you extract interesting data points? Like, people can say a lot of things like, ooh, what an amazing something, touchdown, or home run, or dunk, or so we need to filter all the information there and then take only the one that actually helps us to choose the one that will help us to understand what we see.
That's cool. Are there like multiple versions of that video that can go out and be tested? Or is it primarily like, I mean, with real time, you want to see kind of the best stuff that's happening in the moment. But I'm just kind of curious with testing for like later on, like video on demand, if you wanted to test out different versions, is there a way that the AI would be able to put out like, oh, here's highlight reel 1, here's highlight reel 2, test these two?
So by definition, we're a lot of product people here. So by definition, everything goes out in testing here. All our products here are being tested on real time through our tools. So every preview that we have generated was optimized along the way and competes with other options. So we do compete with random portion of the video, original static image that was created by an amazing designer. So we're competing all the time between different variations, and then the one that actually wins will continue to play.
Okay, that's great. I love that. So what I think is also really interesting, and when I was we were looking at the MLB example earlier, and what I thought was really interesting is that it's also incorporating the words that are spoken into the highlight reel. And I thought that was amazing, because it's one thing to be able to go, okay, an AI is just going to look at the video content and pick out the kind of the highlights of like someone hitting the ball. Like that could be a moment that is very powerful in the game. And it's one thing to have a smart AI be able to select those moments in a video. It's another thing to actually like, incorporate what the broadcaster said about that thing and use the right, not cut it off too early.
Right. So that's another thing that we do here, is we're trying to find a way to combine between the audio and the title and the video. So you won't see different things. You will see one that related to the scene itself.
Yeah, I think that is so cool, and such a smart way to use AI for video editing and making sure that the right words are spoken and taken and incorporated into the video. That's got to be extremely difficult to do. But the examples I've seen have been amazing. I'm just like, wow, I can't believe that in the real time it's selecting, the right words to go with the right video content. So I think the baseball, the basketball, the sports, like real-time video, those are great case studies. I'm curious about other interesting case studies you've seen on how your technology at Minute has been used by businesses.
So we're working, the tech itself, it's so robust. So we're kind of agnostic to the video that we actually see. We can do all kinds of options. We can be from where we've partnered with Z5, which is like some sort of Netflix of India. So we have a lot of Bollywood videos on our system that runs and learns all the time. So it could be from entertainment to news to weather to sports. For us, it doesn't matter. For every video that you're posting online, there should be some peak moment. Otherwise, it's not very interesting and nobody wants to see it. So we today, after like 4 years, we can analyze the content itself, auto tag everything, read what we see, and search for the content, and then show the most interesting parts.
Can you talk about the tagging features? Because this is all this unstructured data coming in, and I'm kind of just curious, like how the AI is operating.
So part of the process that we do is we're connecting to the video itself, so we know what we see, and we also know all the data behind it. So we can see the text that appears there, the meta tags. So we aggregate everything. We understand what we see on the frame itself. So so we can actually see what we see on the frame. We can define it, and then we can take it into the scene level. So we know a sequence of couple of frames or images are related to the same scene, and then to understand what we see on that scene. And then we're starting to extract all kinds of, this is an interesting birdie, eagle, par, nice shot, Tiger Woods, so we can understand everything about what we see. It could be also, forgotten terror attack in some city, and then you can see who are the main objects and what they did and what people are looking at. So you can have everything, and then to tag all the visual side that you can see. A nice example that we had is on the Miss Universe. There was a moment that Miss India crowned, and that's one of the first amazing results that we had on search. So we searched out of a long form video, we searched for Miss India crowned Miss World. And then once we searched it, the first result that we got was Miss India crowning Miss World. So you can actually search and find it within the video.
Wow. Wow, that is so cool. So for companies that are using Minute to be able to create this real-time content, is basically Minute using like an API to immediately upload this content right into the YouTubes or whatever video platform the companies are using?
So we're connecting to the integration side. From our standpoint is one line of code. They will take it to their site. That's it. Just plug in and everything will work. It's a simple process to add minutes, and the results are incredibly amazing. We have all kinds of dashboards that shows you in real time what this article is doing and that one versus that one, and how we can outperform different locations. It works completely automated, so you don't need to do any action. Different AI algorithms will select which one to activate and deactivate, but the mission here is to help our clients and their consumers, like viewers, to enjoy the experience of consuming the content, and for our clients to generate more engagement and then more revenue.
Can you talk about, because what I also find interesting, not only with this amazing technology to develop real-time video with amazing highlights, incorporating the things that are spoken. So not only is this video being generated, but also can you talk about the AI that's actually crafting the text? Because when you upload a video, there's going to be a headline and then maybe even some about text about what's happening in that video in that moment. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yep. So one thing that we're not good at is copywriting. So we're not touching the text. If there is a text from the page, we will use that one.
Yeah, okay.
We're not interfering the editors on their job or the things that they see as something interesting. We will use our technology to optimize the performance of that video. So in text, we do analyze text on different ways.
Yeah,
not generating captions for them. I think there's all kinds of services that does that. I'm not sure how well it works.
Okay, no, that's good. Because I thought it was amazing when like I said, the example of going to Google, typing in MLB, seeing these real-time videos, these highlight reels, and then they were all captioned and everything. And I thought that was brilliant. And I'm sure that's coming in the future. So I'm also curious about you're doing all this amazing work with social video, developing, content in so many different formats very, very quickly. It's got to save companies so much money in manpower to be able to do this. And then I love that your approach really is like, how do we develop this content that's going to engage the audience to keep them tuned in to find, especially the things that are resonating with them, things that are interesting to them. I'm kind of curious about your view of the future and how you see social video evolving.
So, to my understanding, there's an interesting battle between the publishers or those who are creating content, and from the other side, social networks search. So, you know, everybody wants to have the user on his side.
That's right. That's right.
What we do is and that's what I feel about the social videos, is that social or search will be the pathway to the O&O. It means that if you have a very interesting piece of content, a BBC Wild video, for example, the full version of it will be on the OTT, on their platforms. The way to explore and to find and discover those videos will be from social, because most of the time users will arrive to the content from social or search. That's, I would say, 40–50% of the time on the average sites. Some sites more, but so if you can generate a good path to the content, that's where I feel there is a connection between them. Because if you, the publisher, needs to rev share with those big companies like the social and search, then they're losing a lot of revenue. But if they're using them and surfacing content on their platform and then redirecting to their platforms back in a longer form, in something much more interesting for them, that's where I think that the future will be.
Gotcha. Yeah, using the social to feature these highlight reels, but hey, to watch the full content, to see everything, go here, and then you're on the publisher side with that full National Geographic video or whatever.
Exactly. It's something like IGTV, like the Instagram TV, but the Instagram TV is inside Instagram. But the way they use it, so you will see a video on the feed, and if you want to see the full version of the video, then you can redirect the users to a different location. That's a decent way to expose your content.
Yeah, yeah. And I see Minute being a huge part of that, being able to help these creators who are developing long form content, because I'm seeing a lot more long form content being produced now. But it takes a lot of time to edit. And sometimes I'll do on YouTube and I'll look at like sports clips or things like that. And you see like these little highlight reels. Well, the amount of time it takes, you have to go through, right? So your technology is like cutting that down, making it very, very simple for a publisher to go, hey, here's my long form video content, break it up for me so I can easily share it out on social. I mean, I am like very, very impressed with your technology, and it makes me very, very excited.
Thank you.
What do you see as far as like video content like this, like interviews? Because there's a lot of like long form video. You know, I watch interviews on BBC or Oprah interviewing somebody. There's a lot of like long form interview content, and I'm kind of curious like how an AI would be able to like extract like, you know, whatever, an interesting tidbit of conversation to be able to share out.
So there's one of the professors that helped us to build the company used to do Lifelogging. So he built, before the Google Glass, he built like a Google Glass alike.
Oh.
And he was summarizing 24 hours each day for 2 minutes.
Really?
And he was condensing a full week to 14 minutes. So he walked with his glasses all the time. And then the end of each day, he processed everything. And then he was grabbing the highlights of that day. Those kinds of conversations or talking heads on studios or stuff like this, we can define interesting moments by visual stuff, let's say the most important thing that we found in the World Cup, we were analyzing the whole World Cup a year ago, and that's a good example. There was a very nice goal that was scored by one of the players, which, pardon me, I don't remember the name of the player, but whatever. So the goal was very interesting and was very impressive. But what people actually focused on is that two people on the audience there were fighting while there was a goal. So everybody actually focused on that. And that was a very interesting moment on the World Cup. Another thing that happened there is that there was I'm not sure if it was a saving or a goal. It was in between, because I was focused on the highlight itself, where someone kicked the ball directly to his face, and then it flew or to the net or outside of the. But those things are demonstrating that there is an interesting moment, but there is something much more interesting that everybody is focusing on.
That's right.
So with that kind of technology, you can do it.
Yeah, that's really cool. That is so funny how something really exciting is happening in a sports game, but it's actually something else that's actually drawing everybody's attention.
Yeah. Now there was a very famous dog competition in the US, which
oh, really?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it, but there was a lot of dogs there doing all kinds of, agile stuff, running, jumping and stuff. But the most interesting part was that one of the old judges stumbled and almost fell.
Oh.
And everybody was staring at this and not
look at the dogs.
Yes. So you can learn by using that tech what people are actually intriguing by, what makes them look your content. That's it.
I thought it was interesting too that you mentioned when you were first developing, you were first developing an app to help create kind of like relevant highlights for that person. That was kind of the idea originally.
Right.
And
Flipboard for videos.
Yeah, Flipboard for videos, which I think is a really, really interesting approach to make basically video highlights for things that someone would actually be interested in. So potentially there could be 100 different highlight reels all being shared out to different people based on their interests. Is that something you guys are still exploring or still kind of doing for things like Netflix, things like that?
So the problem is statistically significant data. Once you have too many options, the amount of A, B, C, D, whatever tests that you will do won't be significant. So what we try to do is to bring as many inputs that we can as fast as we can in order to generate the minimum amount of previews that we can. So the data that we're actually, the actionable insights that we do in order to show the most interesting preview is the most statistically significant data that we can get.
Wow. Amit, thank you so much for sharing your story, talking about the Minute technology, the way that AI is being used to edit video in real time to select out the content that would resonate most with people. For those people that are interested in joining the Minute Data Science team, I'm kind of curious about what types of people are you looking for that would do really, really well working in data science for your organization?
Sharp, that's the main experience, because when you're building a company, you don't have a lot of time to test stuff, to grow. We're looking for people that know what they do, they're sharp, and they have a great potential in learning new stuff, because we're testing all kinds of stuff all the time. So you need to have all of them. So obviously sharp without this. Experienced is it's easy to see if someone is experienced in that field. And the last thing is the ability to learn new stuff, because we're stumbling all kinds of different questions every day. Different ways to test it, different things that we want to explore. And if you're a good learner, but you don't know how to implement what you've learned, then it's so be sharp, learn fast, and experience.
Awesome. Oh, before we go, I had one more question. There's been a lot of conversation these days around the deep fake technology, and it's some of the videos I've seen look so realistic, right? And sometimes it's like hard to tell whether that video is real or not. And I'm kind of curious, like your view on deep fakes and maybe how even technology will help to like identify and go like, yeah, this video is not legitimate.
Let me think about it and I'll get back to you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is like, it's like one of those things. I think everyone's kind of, when I'm on LinkedIn, I see all these conversations about deep fakes, and because the video that's coming out, it looks so realistic.
Yeah. Right.
And it can be extremely misleading when potentially a video can come out in the future that is not true, but it seems very true.
Yeah.
And people start, and with social media, people start sharing it and people accept it as truth because, whatever the content is just angers people or excites people. And, I think there's got to be a way to be able to help people, whether it's a browser plugin or something to help like, hey, this video, we have to be just very, very careful. I feel like it's kind of like just even with the early days of the web, there was things like, what was it, Snopes? I can't remember the name of the organization, but like people would share stuff on the web and you didn't know whether it was true or not. Snopes, that was it. Snopes. And Snopes would kind of like, would be like that filter they can go to go like, is this story that I'm reading, is this a true story? Is this fake? We almost need something like that for video content now.
Yep, exactly. It's a good question. Let me think about it.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much, Amit, for being in Data Talk. It was a pleasure having you. I wish you so much success for your company. For those listening to the podcast, if you're interested in learning more about AI-enabled video content, how to create video in real time for portrait mode, vertical video, be able to mass produce content very, very quickly, check out Minutely. Again, the URL is just minute.ly. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you very much, man.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Data Talk podcast. My name is Mike Delgado, and we record this show every single week on Facebook Live. If you found this show helpful, please let us know by rating us on iTunes. And if you want to know about past episodes or upcoming ones, you can always go to the Experian blog. The URL is just experian.com/datatalk. Again, that's experian.com/datatalk. And that'll bring you over to the page where we have a listing of all of our show notes and past episodes. We've recorded over 100 so far. And we're also looking for your recommendations. So if you ever have suggestions around topics or guests you'd like to hear from, please let us know. You can reach out to us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @ExperienDataLab, or you can just reach me directly @Mike Delgado. Thanks so much for your support, and thanks so much for subscribing to our shows.